Ben had imagined England differently. In his mind, the streets were lined with opportunity, the people warm, the sky promising a fresh start. But reality hit like a cold, relentless wave. Every day since his arrival, he had felt invisible. Shops turned him away. Hostels had no space. Friends were hard to come by, and the loneliness gnawed at him like a persistent storm. Every morning, he woke up, shouldered his heavy luggage, and wandered the streets, searching for something, anything that could give him purpose. But the city's vastness swallowed him whole. He tried job after job, offering his hands, his sweat, his willingness to work, but doors slammed shut before he could even enter. By the third week, his feet were raw, his spirits crushed, and for the first time, Ben felt the sting of hopelessness. He had no place to go, no one to turn to. He felt stranded, an island in a sea of strangers. It was one of those nights past midnight when he struggled up the narrow steps of a small townhouse, dragging his luggage behind him. His muscles ached, his hands were raw, and all he wanted was a place to sit, even for a few hours. "Need a hand?" a voice called out. Ben looked up and saw a man in his early 50s leaning slightly on the railing. He had a kind face, the kind that had seen pain but hadn't let it harden him completely. Even though his eyes betrayed fatigue, he held a gentle, open energy. Ben hesitated, then nodded. "Thank you. I didn't know where else to go." Without another word, the man came down and together they carried the luggage inside. Each bag felt lighter not because of their combined strength, but because of the unspoken humanity between them. When they reached the modest living room, Ben set the luggage down and muttered, "Goodbye, sir. It was nice talking to you. Your motivation, it means a lot to me." The man paused, touched. He had seen that spark in Ben, a quiet determination, a refusal to give up even when the world turned its back. "I know you're stranded," he said slowly, almost as if speaking to himself as much as to Ben. "I know you have no place to go. Come inside. Sleep on my little sofa." Ben froze, disbelieving. He hadn't been offered kindness since arriving in England. Acceptance had been foreign, a dream that had never touched him. But here it was, real and immediate. "Really?" he whispered. Keith, the man who had opened his door, nodded. "Really, get some rest." Ben curled up on the sofa, the weight of the world finally lifting off his shoulders. He slept deeply, uninterrupted for the first time in weeks, and when morning came, he woke to the smell of toast and fresh coffee. "Shower first," Keith said, placing a bag of clean clothes before him. Ben nodded and disappeared into the small bathroom. When he emerged, Keith paused mid-step, staring. Ben's physique was extraordinary, muscles honed and abs sharply defined. He had the body of someone who had trained intensely for years, though he wore it casually, without vanity. Did you box?" Keith asked cautiously, not wanting to offend but unable to hide his curiosity. Ben chuckled softly. "I was a boxer, back home. Haven't trained in a long time." Something stirred in Keith's chest, a memory he had buried for years. He had been a trainer, passionate, respected, alive in the ring and the gym, but after losing his wife suddenly, everything had collapsed. The gym closed, his trophies gathered dust, and he had drifted, purposeless. Seeing Ben, young but disciplined, reminded him of a fire he thought he'd lost. Over the next few days, a bond began to form. Keith shared stories of his past, and Ben listened, fascinated by the man's depth and quiet wisdom. And slowly, Ben began to train not just for exercise, but with purpose. Keith guided him, correcting stance, perfecting punches, sharing the philosophy behind every move. "Boxing isn't just muscle," Keith explained one evening as the gym's fluorescent lights flickered above them. "It's mind. It's discipline. It's learning to get back up every time you fall. You can have the strength, but without strategy, without heart, you'll fall." Ben listened, absorbing every word, and day by day, their partnership deepened, not just coach and trainee, but mentor and friend, kindred spirits who had found each other at the most desperate moments of their lives. Months passed. Ben rose quickly in local tournaments, his skill undeniable. But it wasn't easy. The pain of losses cut deep, the physical strain threatened to break him, and the weight of expectations sometimes pressed him to his knees. Yet Keith never wavered. He celebrated the victories with quiet pride and soothed the defeats with patience and wisdom. Then came the tragedy. Keith, driving home one rainy night after overseeing Ben's practice, was involved in a sudden accident. Ben rushed to the hospital, heart pounding, but when he arrived, he was too late. The man who had given him a second chance, who had believed in him when the world had not, was gone. Ben's world crumbled. He barely trained, barely ate. Sleep was restless, haunted by memories of Keith's voice, his laughter, his guidance. He drifted toward despair, the darkness threatening to swallow him whole. One night, exhausted and broken, Ben fell asleep on the edge of the ring. In his dreams, Keith appeared calm, smiling, radiating warmth. "You are stronger than you know," Keith said, his voice echoing in the quiet. "I'm in a better place. Don't let my absence weigh you down. Fight. Live. Become the champion I always knew you could be." Ben awoke with tears streaking his face but with a fire igniting in his chest. The words were a lifeline, a promise from beyond, urging him to rise. Every punch from that day forward carried Keith's guidance. Every movement was a tribute to the man who had saved him, not just from the streets, but from despair itself. The world would come to know Ben as a champion, his name synonymous with skill, courage, and heart. But those who knew the story, the quiet, private journey, knew it was more than that. It was a story of survival, of unexpected friendship, of love that transcends tragedy, and the power of belief, both in oneself and in the kindness of another. And somewhere, in the quiet corners of his mind, Ben could feel Keith smiling, proud beyond words. And so, from the streets of struggle to the roar of the championship ring, Ben's journey reminds us that even when the world turns its back, a single hand extended in kindness can change everything. Every fall, every heartbreak, every lonely night is shaping the champion inside you sometimes. You just need someone to believe in you to ignite your own fire. Remember this: heroes are not born, they are forged through hardship, guided by friendship, and strengthened by the courage to rise again. Carry that lesson with you, and let your story be the next one we tell. Until next time, keep your hearts brave and your spirits unbroken. This is Folktales of Many Tribes. See you on another one of my friend, KM. See you, baby boy.